What is going on, fam? How is everybody doing? Listen, good morning. It's breakfast. Had a good time. We had a ball. Listen, fam. Listen. Whew. We got a lot to talk about, but we ain't gonna. It's not gonna take long. I wanna use this show as just a demonstration of why I have so much and so many problems with the Umar Johnsons and the Amanda Seals and all these people who use what we have to do as kind of like a rebrand. Because y'all know the political rebrand is here. The political rebrand, if you want to do something, shall I get you a political rebrand and start talking about politics and do your Charlemagne thing? Well, I don't know, where you try to parry it. Well, I don't know, the black vote really don't have. And then you let Trump use your little cutaway about TRANS people, and you let him use that for a thing, and you just play both sides against the middle, and that's that's the best rebrand. Umar Johnson can come out and say, hey, listen, we're gonna do a conference. You want to have dinner with the Prince of Pan-Africanism, $500. That gets in the way of what we have to do. That gets in the way of the seriousness of our politics. And fam, if you have not picked it up, speaking of which, got the wrong thing up. Here we go. Hold on a second, fam. Woo. Be doing way too much. Just be doing way too much. There we go. If you have not picked up the reparations framework, please pick that up. We have to get serious about our politics. We have to get serious about that sort of thing. And you cannot get serious about it if you are just doing book history classes and things like that. You cannot get serious about it if you are doing education projects alone. It has to be about politics. It has to be about advocacy. So pick that up. It's available at Amazon.com. So when you pick up your lip gloss, when you pick up your dog food, when you pick up your cat food, when you pick up your little t-shirts or whatever you pick up over there, don't act like you don't. I know you do. When you pick up whatever you pick up over there, make sure you pick up the reparations framework as well. We need you helping us to make the case as well. So make sure you do that. Now listen, I want to talk about something real quick. We ain't gonna have to be here all day. We're gonna have to be here what's the never long. We ain't gotta do all that, but I want to talk about something. I gotta talk about something. Y'all's mans. Let me just show you. Your president. I call him like I see him. Your president, Donald Trump, said the museums throughout Washington, but all over the country, are essentially the last remaining segment of woke. The Smithsonian is out of control. Now, listen, I can already see what he's trying to do here. He's going to, the next campaign that he's going to try to put, because he thinks he can run for president again, is I got rid of woke, right? But here's the thing. The Smithsonian is out of control, where everything discussed is how horrible our country is, how bad slavery was, and how unaccomplished and downtrodden have been. Blah, 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 blah. It's just one run-on sentence. But I see this, and I know this to be marketing, right? Just to get that out of the way, this is marketing. This is not to be taken seriously. This is marketing. So he can say, hey, when I was president, I got rid of woke. Woke was the biggest threat. And the whole thing about woke is that it makes white people believe, the white people on the right and the contingency of racists believe that their problem is specifically when you talk about slavery and this sort of thing. Our problem isn't economics. Our problem isn't one group having way more than the other, the way the top people have hoarded the wealth. Our problem isn't. Y'all saw the number. There's an Atlantic article, or is it the New Yorker? I can't remember, where it's something called The Number, and they talk about how much money the Trump family has made, and it's in the billions. It's called The Number. But they don't want you to think about that kind of grift, that kind of money, that kind of kleptocracy. They want you to just think that the real problem is that we talk too much about slavery. Let me tell you, the thing that the right has down, I was watching a speech by J.D. Vance at the Claremont Institute, and if you get a chance, go check it out. The thing that the right wing has down is that they have successfully convinced their voters that the real problem is these sorts of symbolic things, wokeism, stuff that's taught. That's the real problem, right? The only substantive thing that they attack is immigration. They don't even measure that. They just like the spectacle that they see on the street. Like, we measure things. They like the spectacle. They have gotten these folks down. If you just talk about Negroes and you're going to get the Negroes right and it's not going to have no much woke, and we're not going to teach about reparations, we talk too much about slavery, you will convince racist folks and people who lean towards racism that the real problem with this country is that we talk too much about what this country did wrong. Or the aspect of it. You will have that. You will get these people, if you want to get somebody to vote, if you want to get these folks to show up, all you got to do is start talking about the real problem in this country is not that people are locked out. It's not inequality. It's not the fact that young people now have less than their parents and less than their grandparents with more degrees and more education. No, that's not the problem. The problem is that we never paid reparations to people who were harmed and we pay reparations to everybody else. No, that's not the problem. That's not the problem at all. The real problem, if you listen to them, the real problem is that we talk too much about slavery. We talk too much about the harm that we cause these ADOS people. We talk too much about it. According to them, that is the real problem. Now, first of all, why Trump lie like this? Because he just say anything. If y'all remember, back in 2019, he was the one talking about it. Trump condemned slavery in Jamestown speech amid controversy over prior incendiary remarks. Now, wait a minute, Trump. In 2019, you yourself were talking about how awful it is. You see how we have just gone down the hole and down the drain since then? Even you, the New Yorker, thank you, fam. Even you were talking about it. Trump, you were talking about how bad it was. Now all of a sudden the problem is wokeism. The problem is, I'll tell you, this country's great. No, that's not what you were said. That's not where we were. Now you're trying to switch it up. And some of us remember. In his remarks, he honored the first people to come to form a government in what would become the United States of America, but also recognized their importation of slaves in 1619 in the same region. Mr. Trump, who are ye that you not remember ye what ye said? Who are ye, Mr. Trump? It was the beginning of a barbaric trade of human lives, he said. Today, in honor, we remember every sacred soul who suffered the horrors of slavery and the anguish of bondage. Did you say that? Did you call... Now, Donald Trump, did you call slavery barbaric? Did you talk about it in 2019? All of a sudden, now we can't talk about it. You see, liars be lying. You didn't have no problem talking about it then. And in terms of every other atrocity, nobody has a problem talking about it. We will talk about, slavery lasted 246 years. There are other atrocities that we have paid reparations for in this country and talked about that have lasted far less. Right? We're going to get to some of that. We're going to get to just a little bit of it. Like I said, we ain't got to take no long time. We're going to get to just a little bit of it in a minute. Like, this is the speech, but I just want to give you, or was that 2000? I just want to give you a little bit more of what he said. We're talking about the Civil War here. This is his comments. More than 150 years later, at America's founding, our Declaration of Independence recognized the immortal truth that all men are created equal. Yet it would ultimately take a civil war 85 years later after that document was signed to abolish the evil of slavery. Trump, that you? It would take more than a century for our nation, in the words of Martin Luther King, to live out the true meaning of his creed. Now, people play both ends against the middle. This is what politicians do. We go from not wanting to talk about slavery to all of a sudden we want to talk about slavery in terms of supporting the Confederacy. I don't understand. If you don't want to talk about it, then we don't talk about it. How is the suffering wokeism? But you want to elevate the people who perpetuated that and made that possible. You want to elevate the people who tore the country apart. Understand that the Confederates tore this country in half because they wanted to engage in the flesh trade. That's just what happened. They wanted to engage in the flesh trade. And somehow, let's just slow this down for a second. Somehow you want to, and you have in this country, built monuments as remembrance of slavery, because that's what it is, because they fought to maintain slavery. When you talk about the Confederacy, when you elevate it, you are talking about slavery. There's no other way to talk about that. That is slavery. That is slave history in this country. It's not just the other side when you talk about the people who were trapped in bondage that we're talking about it. You don't have a problem. You don't have a problem with talking about slavery. You got a problem with telling the truth about it. Let's call it what it is. You don't have a problem with talking about it. You're great when we lie about it. You're great when you talk about how the Confederates is just about history and it's about heritage and all that kind of stuff. You love that. You love to lie about it. But when we start telling the truth about it, you have a problem. And even at the Smithsonian, and when you have those kinds of things, when they talk about slavery, it goes all the way from, it's a up from slavery kind of narrative, the way they have it done. I have told y'all many a time on this here internet that ugly people don't like mirrors. Ugly countries don't like mirrors either. That's your problem. I'm going to go, at the end of this thing, I'm going to go to 246 verses 12. Put a pin in it. We're going to come back to it. Not going to take long. Not going to take long at all. We're going to come right back to it. Sad to see our history and culture, our great country being ripped apart with the removal of our beautiful statues and monuments. Listen, shout out to the EGIE Justice Initiative, because they have done a great job of giving the history of lynchings, EJI. Shout out to them. But the government and the country didn't do it. And the reason that they're coming after history, the reason that they're coming after our history is because they don't want to face it. See, the truth is toxic to a liar. You have to understand that. The truth is toxic to a liar. It just is what it is. And if this country had done what it was supposed to do for us in terms of reparations and making sure that we were okay after multi-generational oppression, we wouldn't have this conversation. And they wouldn't be afraid to have this conversation, because what would have happened is they would have told the truth and repaired the damage. You ever seen somebody who is a criminal at the scene of a crime? You know, the first thing they try to do after they do the crime, flee. They try to get out of there. Nobody who committed a crime or is part of the crime or who is complicit with the ideology behind the crime sticks around. They flee. Trying to erase the history of slavery in this country is trying to flee the crime, because you did it and you don't want to own up to it. You don't want to go to jail. You don't want to pay no money. You don't want to do nothing but say, I didn't do it, officer. I don't know where I was, just over here. I was on my way to work. I wouldn't need, hey, I was all the way back there. I don't know. I saw a dude jump in the car and took off. Black Honda. Like, that's what you wanted. I don't know. I don't know where you gonna find him at. But he around here somewhere. It wasn't me. You're trying to get out of it. That's what people who do. They want to get out of it. Don't nobody want to stay stuck in the crime they committed. They want to get out of it. Great way to get out of it is to just erase the history, because you've decided that the one thing you don't want to do is make good on this thing. And you have turned so many people complicit and made them racist just like you. And yeah, they the problem, that you really have a hard time turning back the clock now, but you got to. This other stuff you're doing is not going to work. Not tired of slavery. You're not tired of quote unquote wokeism. You're tired of being confronted with the truth. Liars always have a problem with being confronted with the truth. Ain't nothing new here. Ain't nothing different. Ain't nothing strange. Liars have a problem when they're confronted with truth. Shoot. I don't know who telling the truth, who not. Umar was in the car. My banks, all my bank accounts. I can't get to none of my money. Also, they finna close the school if I can't find no money. I got to find some money. All these stories. Child, people be trying to find new stories, alibis and everything. The truth, when the truth don't fit your agenda, you gotta, don't care who you are, you gotta find something. Trump is just there you go again. Can't change history, but you can learn from it. Robert E. Lee, Stonewall Jackson, who's next? Washington, Jefferson. Listen, the problem we confront is that we are being led by people, and have been for some time. Trump is just the most exaggerated form of it. He is the most extreme form of it. But we have for a very long time been led by people who have no moral core and don't seem to know right from wrong. I don't think that's different. And that is what this is when you talk about, hey, everything talking about how bad this country was. What? No, talking about that's not the truth of it. Anybody who says, I don't care whether you heal from anything, I don't care what you heal from. The first thing they tell you to do is get honest about yourself. Get honest about your past. Get honest about what you did. You got to make peace with it. But not if you just want to manipulate people and get votes off of it. Then it's like, maybe not. Right? I wanna just bring this up really quick. Gosh, I be repeating stuff like Umar. Let me stop that. So let's want to read this really quick. This is old. But I want to show you something. Because these people are not learning. And they are manipulating other people who are dangerous. So when Abraham Lincoln delivered his second inaugural address on March 4th, 1865, at the end of 4 years of the Civil War, few people in the North or the South would have dissented from his statement that slavery was somehow the cause of the war. See, the lie hadn't took off about all this stupid states' rights. The lie had not took off, but that lie took off later. At the war's outset in 1861, Jefferson Davis, president of the Confederacy, had justified secession as an act of self-defense against the incoming Lincoln administration, whose policy of excluding slavery from the territories would make property in slaves so insecure as to be comparatively worthless, thereby annihilating, in effect, property worth thousands of millions of dollars. It is very clear that the Civil War was fought because the brethren, the Union's brethren in the South, wanted to continue and further the slave trade. This is the flesh trade. That's what they wanted to do. That's clear. See, the problem that you have if you support the Confederates, or what, the problem that you have is not a problem with wokeism. It's not a problem with me. It's not a problem with Negroes. It's not a problem with history. It's a problem with honesty. And it's also a problem with morality. You ain't got no problem with wokeism and all this stuff. You have a problem with the truth. You have a problem with morality. You have a problem with understanding how to do redress. You have a problem with a lot of things, right? None of them have anything to do with wokeism. So let me just, like I said, we're gonna make short business of this. We ain't got to be here. We're just gonna make short business of this. So the Confederate Vice President Alexander H. Stephens had said in a speech at Savannah on March 21st, 1861, that slavery was the immediate cause of the late rupture and present revolution of Southern independence. The United States, said Stephens, had been founded in 1776 on the false idea that all men are created equal. Pay attention to that. The United States, he said, said Stephens, had been founded in 1776 on the false idea that all men are created equal. The Confederacy, by contrast, is founded upon exactly the opposite idea. Its foundations are laid. Its cornerstones rest upon the great truth that the Negro is not equal to the white man, that slavery, subordination to the superior race is his natural and moral condition. This, our government, is the first in the history of the world based on this physical, philosophical, and moral truth. The Confederacy was based on the idea that we are inferior. What does that tell you about the people who are going around here to put up statues? That's the Confederacy. It is born of the idea that the Negro race is an inferior race. And in 2025, we have people who are going around saying that it's okay to support that. It's okay to support the idea. This is supposed to be the Republican Party, and conservatives are the brand of freedom. They're supposed to be about freedom and liberty, but they do not take any pride in the Union. They take pride in the Confederacy, which was a group of traitor losers who killed their own people in a war to continue human trafficking. You got to sit back and think about that. This is what that war was. That's what the war was. I get to make money off these bodies and own human people. And my foundation and ideological perspective that undergirds that is that these people who I am enslaving are inferior to me. And I believe that, and I want the money that comes from them so much that I am willing to go to war with my own people, my own countrymen, and tear this country apart because I want to keep these people in chains. And in 2025, we still have people in the White House, no less, who are saying we should have monuments to that and to those people. The Confederate statue should be buried in shame. Any moral people would bury all of that in shame and be ashamed. It should be buried with a burial marker that says, here lies a traitor. Here lies a loser. The Confederate flag should be the white flag because you had to eventually say, yeah, we lost. And you had to eventually go out and try to rewrite it because these people never can just tell the truth. Yeah, we was trying to hold people in chains and maybe we was wrong and I'll have to answer to God for that one day maybe. But that they didn't want to say that. They said, no, it's the war of aggression and that's not what it was really about. You had the Daughters of the Confederacy and all this kind of stuff. So now you got people running around here who don't know history. All you got to do is go read what the Confederates said about themselves at the time. Don't read when they tried to go whitewash it. Read what they said when they was going to war. And I tell you something else I need. And I tell you something else I'm tired of. I'm tired of, listen, if racist, I know sometimes y'all watch the show. I know you do. You DM me with your little problems. Listen, stop telling me, how come y'all want reparations? How come, how many lives? How many people? You know how many white men died for y'all to be free? They didn't die. They didn't die for me. They died because your brethren in the Confederacy wanted to own people. That's not a reparations to me. They died because you wanted to own people. That's not what they got to do with me. Your people were immoral. Deal with your own immorality. That don't have nothing to do with me. You don't want to talk about how bad slavery is or how bad slavery was because you don't want to talk about yourself. You don't want to talk about yourself. Listen, we just got people talk about, I say this all the people talk about our American democracy and they harken back. Oh, our American democracy, it was started in 1770, the Constitutional Convention. They do all that stuff. Child, we didn't get included in American democracy in name until the Civil Rights Movement. We didn't get included until the 60s. It ain't even been 100 years. And you want to talk to me about American democracy? You want to talk to me about wokeism? How about I talk to you about just how awful that is? How about I talk to you about putting other people in chains and how awful that is? How about I talk to you about how long y'all tried to keep us from voting and put dogs on us? And this has been 400 years of oppression accrued advantage. Slavery was just the beginning. And you want to talk to me about wokeism after y'all done, according to that New York article, took all that money and stole all that money that from crypto and all this kind of stuff. Y'all over there just basically taking bribes, want to talk to me about wokeism and how this shouldn't be here because you don't even want to tell the truth. You don't know the truth. Truth ain't never seen you. Y'all ought to be ashamed. You know what they say? You know what the old people say? Tell the truth and shame the devil. That's what they say. The truth will set the devil on fire. Let me just, I want to go to one other thing really quickly. Because you see Trump trying to reinstall all these Confederate statues and just to try to placate losers, I guess, because I wouldn't be running around doing nothing for no people who lost the war, right? They shouldn't have fought it in the first place, but I would be running around trying to, bury that thing deep in the dirt and put a little memorial on it. Here lies a traitor. Here lies a person who did not understand that all humans have a right to exist, a right to liberty, a right to justice. Here lies that kind of person. Here's a person who had no honor. Here's a person who had no commitment to country. Here's a person who didn't understand what patriotism meant. Here lies a traitor. That's what that's what I want to see. Bury all of the statues, and I want that monument to be there. That's the symbolism I need. That is the symbolism of justice. That is the symbolism of honesty. I don't know what these white folk are trying to convince us of on the right. I'm not talking about nice white folk. We got some of y'all. I know y'all. I love y'all. Wonderful, wonderful. We had people like that in the movement too. Wonderful. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about I'm not talking about the person who fought in the Union. I'm talking about the one who fought in the Confederacy. And in 2025, it's still, do you know that thing was over in 1865? Whew. Y'all talk like we caused it. Y'all talk like we was the one. That's the conversation. They have the conversation as if we were the ones who were trading slaves and they were the ones who broke free and got their freedom. They talk like they were the victims. The way the right makes themselves into victims is something that it boggles the mind. Reverse racism, Confederacy. You were not the victim. You were the aggressor and you lost. Take your L like a man or a woman. Take your L. Don't be sitting around crying about an L your brethren or ancestors took back in 1865. They were losers. That's what losers do, lose. I don't know. I don't understand how you got this revisionist history. I don't know what you got going on. Bury that thing. For those of y'all who might not know, the Trump administration will restore and reinstall the only statue that had honored a Confederate official in the U.S. Capitol after demonstrators toppled and set it on fire. During the Black Lives Matter protest in 2020, the face statue depicts Albert Pike, a Confederate diplomat and general who worked closely with Native Americans from slave-owning tribes that sided with the Confederacy during the Civil War and fought to protect slavery as an institution. Of course. These people were anti-freedom. There's no way you can fight for slavery and say you are a patriot or you are a liberator. Child, come on. Let's not talk crazy to each other. But I want to bring this up. I mentioned EJ. I want to bring this up really quickly. Every time you talk about the Confederacy, you are talking about slavery. The only difference is that if I talk about slavery and the horror of it, when I talk about it, the difference between me and you is we are both talking about slavery. I'm telling the truth and you're telling a lie. That's the only difference. The only difference is who is telling the truth about that story and who is telling a lie. And you're telling a lie for political gain because it's easy to manipulate people with this Confederacy lie because nobody likes to feel bad about themselves or their people. Because especially if you're from the South, you don't want to feel that way. You want to feel like it's okay to discriminate against ADOS in this era. Like I can discriminate American descendants of slavery. They really are kind of inferior. You have that in your head. And that's why you keep this lie alive. Because you kind of agree with them. You know what it was about. You know it wasn't about no northern aggression. You lie to somebody else. Don't lie to me. And how I know you're okay and you're great with talking about slavery is because in an effort to better understand the scope and depth of the South's commitment to the Confederate iconography, EJI has worked to identify and locate Confederate monuments across America. We have documented 1,575 Confederate monuments total, the vast majority of which were put up after 1910, long after they lost. You see how they do? 1,568 Confederate monuments are located across the 12 southern states at their original locations in towns and squares, on courthouse lawns, and at each and every state capitol. Hundreds of additional Confederate symbols and school and street numbers dominate this region as well. Now, look at the number of Confederate monuments and all that kind of stuff. Now, I want you to do a quick little search. Ladies and gentlemen, do a quick little search. How many monuments to slaves, the enslaved people, how many monuments to their suffering? How many monuments do we have about what they endured? Just search for me. You see all the Confederate money. Just search for me because you don't like the, Trump. It's too much slavery. It's too much slave talk. It's too much. Oh, it's too much talk about all what happened, woke, and what America did wrong. Okay, how many, fam? How many monuments do we have that bemoan, mourn, commemorate the people who endured so we could be here, the institution of slavery? I want to know how many we got. Is it 1,000? Do we got 1,500 and all that kind of stuff? I mean, if the whole problem with America is wokeism and it's too much talking about slaves and slavery, where? Who? We just got this. We just got a museum of African American history. That just happened. That just happened. I want to know how many things do we have to commemorate what our ancestors endured? I'm just trying to figure it out. Because, how much reparations has been paid to us? I'm just saying, this is just the documentation. We're just looking at evidence. Only the facts, ma'am. Only the facts, sir. Confederate symbols, 2,000 plus, physical monuments, 685 to 894, documented statues around 70, 71, apart from statues, schools, EJI documented. Come on. Somebody has to give me a break. Because this is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. Running around here celebrating traitors and people who fought their country and lost. It's like in Germany, like, I don't think people celebrate the NAZIS, do they? Because that's what these people are. Like, the NAZIS learned from America. We were the blueprint. Like, what happened to us was the blueprint for what happened to during the Holocaust. We were the blueprint for that. So they get reparations and they get everything. And I agree that the Jewish community, Holocaust survivors and their heirs should get that. But we were the blueprint and we don't get nothing, and you just tell us to even talking about what we need is somehow is wokeism, and that's what's wrong with America. I'm almost done, fam. Let me just point out one thing. And this is how you know that because like I said, I'm going to end where I started. This is all marketing. Please, if you don't understand nothing else, please understand that this whole thing is marketing. Trump is marketing to be able to say, I ended wokeism. And the problem with America is wokeism, that we don't focus on the good of the country. We only focus on the bad. That's the thing. But I want to show you this, because we haven't focused on this enough. We will be a better country if we will focus on the wrong. And we will be a better country if people understood what happened to us. And we will be a better country if people understood how what happened to us there led to us and leads to us being wealthless today. We will be a better country. But look at this. This is from 2015. And if you've never been to the Whitney Plantation, please go. The U.S. has 35,000 museums. Why is only one about slavery? Let me repeat that for we woke and we talk too much about slavery. Let me repeat that for you. Remember how many Confederate things we got? 2. The U.S. has 35,000 museums. Why is only one about slavery? And this is coming from the perspective of somebody who opened the first slavery museum. But we talk too much about it, and we're the problem, right? Got you. In fact, the United States did not have a single museum devoted entirely to slavery until last December, when I opened the first one. It's housed at the Whitney Plantation, a former indigo and sugar farm that I had purchased 15 years earlier outside of New Orleans. The 250 acres on the Mississippi River had been largely neglected since the 1970s, and they were at first nothing more than an investment to me. But as I researched the property's history, it became clear that this was not going to be one of my real estate projects. Okay? Now, We don't talk enough about slavery. We don't have enough slavery museums. We don't have enough slavery monuments. We don't have enough of that because it's been erased, and that's been done on purpose, right? But I want to just show you this really quickly. Okay? That's not one of America's, not one of America's 35,000 museums had been dedicated solely to the facts and experiences of slavery is an egregious national failure. The September 11th Museum opened just 10 years after that tragedy. Understand something. How many people died on September 11th? How many people, fam? How many people died on September 11th? It was one day. It was one moment. I was working in D.C. when it happened. I remember it well. How many people died? Can you give me a guess if you don't know? How many people died on September 11th? Just throw it in the chat. How many people passed? It was one day. It was one moment. Right? To my memory, I thought it was, I can't remember. I can't put the firefighters with it because remember they wouldn't get the firefighters health care after going in there. All kind of stuff. Somebody said 3K, 3,000 people, 2,000, 3,000, right around there. Okay. One day, one moment in time, one act of terrorism, okay? Slavery lasted 246 years. 246 years. 1619 to Civil War, what's that? But emancipation wasn't the same time the Civil War ended. But look, 1865, right around there. Like, how do you have the September 11th Museum open right after the tragedy? There are museums dedicated to the Confederacy and antebellum life in Virginia, South Carolina, Louisiana, and most other southern states. The United States has more Holocaust museums than Israel, Germany, and Poland combined, and the Holocaust did not happen here. I support their remembrances. I am not anti-Semitic, but that did not happen here. Somebody tell me how long the Holocaust lasted. Come on. How long did it last, fam? I'm just asking you. And I agree that the Holocaust survivors and their heirs deserve reparations. I believe that. But how long did it last? Because I'm trying to show you what this country does. This is not about them. This is like what this country does to us in comparison to other people. Because I can make this case about anybody. Anybody find it yet? How long did it last? 12 years. The United States has more Holocaust museums than Israel, Germany, Poland combined. It lasted 12 years. Slavery lasted 246 years. There would be no America without us. There's no America without American slaves, and we have nothing. We don't even have stuff that commemorates us. And now we have a president who is saying the little that we do have should be erased because they want to erase us and what they did. Come on, fam. Come on. Come on. You see what this is about? This is only about erasing us. This is only about maintaining us as the bottom caste. You would treat no one else like this. You would never tell anybody, and you shouldn't tell them, hey, we talk too much about what happened during the Holocaust. You would not say that, and you should not say that. You wouldn't even have nobody saying the stuff they say to us. Like we say to each other stupid stuff. It's too many slave movies. I've never seen or heard a Jewish person say we have too many Holocaust movies. I've never seen it in my life. If you see it, show it to me. I've never seen it. Because they love commemorating their history. They love talking about their history. They say never forget our history. And we should say that to ourselves and to the government. No. Never forget. Never forget what happened to us. Never forget who did it to us. Never forget what the Confederacy did, not just to us, but to the country. Never forget that they're traitors. Never forget that they're losers. Never forget that that flag means the opposite of patriotism. It means you are a loser. It means you side with losers. It means you side with people who try to tear the country apart. It means you side with worthless rebels. That's what it means. And so, I leave it there because I think that says the story about, It tells a story about what people, not just what they're trying to do to us, but what they are successfully doing to us. You can successfully tell a story about the suffering that happened in Germany in these museums. And you don't go to their museums and say, oh, we got to get over this. Why are we talking about this? We should even be, why are we talking about the great things that Germany did? Because there is an understanding that the way to heal and the way to raise awareness and the way to kind of ensure that some things don't happen again is through acknowledging that this thing happened and it was atrocious and it was horrific. And so I'm fine with acknowledging that. But when it comes to acknowledging what happened here and what happened in America, and I think part of the reason is because they never pay reparations. The Jewish community and heirs have gotten reparations, right? So I think people are okay to face it because the world realizes that the world has done what needs to be done in order to make them whole, right? You saw this come in 2024. You saw Kathy Hochul. New York has passed and has secured over $183 million in compensation for Holocaust victims and their heirs. I agree with it. Good. Hate has no home in New York, and my administration is committing to uplifting survivors and their families while honoring the memory of the 6 million lives taken far too soon. Good. We've never had that. And part of what's happening here is this country refuses to face, right? This country refuses to face and deal with that. So instead of dealing with that, this country would much rather just erase that history and erase us with it. And I think we have to do our best, our level best to stand up against that. And that's one of the reasons why I am so, when you see me go off on people, like Dr. Umar and all that, it's because they waste time. We have too much to do. And I'll take it a step further. We have too much to lose to involve ourselves in foolishness. We have too much to lose to allow celebrities and people who want to be celebrities and want attention to have control of our politics. It's time for us to fight back. Our ancestors fought back from the plantation to the civil rights movement. It's time for us to fight back too. And we cannot fight back if we are donating money for 10 years, 15 years for a man to raise one school. We cannot fight back if we give over our voice to celebrities, Amanda Seals, Charlemagne. We need movements. Everything that has been done good in this country in terms of recent memory, whether you talk about labor or whatever, even though they're rolling all that back, it has happened because of movements. ADOS is a movement. We need movements. We don't need influencers. We need movements. We don't need celebrities. We need movements. We don't need mouthpieces because it is serious. And these people are not playing games and they're doing everything to undermine us at every turn. Trump is just the most overt version of it. We have seen it in Democrats and Republicans alike for a number of years. It's just that Trump is just not making any kind of qualms about who he is and what he believes. Other people have done it very differently. Go a little bit back, go a little bit, say a little bit. When Clinton took that picture in front of all those ADOS men in prison, you knew what the signal was. You knew what that meant. We're going to bring these Negroes to heel. What I'm saying is that recognize it for what it is and be ready to fight for it. So I'm going to leave it there, fam. For those of you all who are on Patreon, I will see you on Friday. If you haven't signed up for Patreon, patreon.com/ycarnell. I'm writing something really quick that I'm going to put on Substack as well. So meet me over there. Also, like I said, if you have not gotten the book, please take some time and do that. Reparations Framework. It's on Amazon.com. And I will see you all. What? I'm not working out. What's wrong with this thing? I will see you all. I got my watch confused. You working out? No, my heart rate's just up. But I will see you all. If you're a Patreon subscriber, I will see you on Friday at 2:00 in the afternoon. Other than that, I will see you on Substack. All right? All right.